The Freeway Series continues here at the Big A. The Angels took game one last night by the final of 3-2, and tonight it is game number 2 before heading up the freeway to Dodger Stadium for tomorrow night's finale. We welcome you inside the Big A and back to Angels baseball here on Prime Ticket. I'm Victor Rojas along with Mark Gubas. So glad you could join us once again. And tonight we had a chance to see Garrett Richards. Last night we had a chance to talk to him a little bit about the rehab process for him that happened, of course, it began anyways May 1st of last year. He's worked his way back, did not have Tommy John surgery, and it's good to see him 100% and feeling healthy, ready to start the season.
Yeah, exactly right, Victor. That's the most important word. He's healthy. I mean, that's the thing what he's doing right now. He's talking about pitch efficiency. We've seen that conversation at the end of last year into Arizona Fall League, and then we saw it in spring training where he threw the ball very well. If you look what he did so far in spring, very good fastball. You're talking about velocity on the fastball too, with very good movement. You're talking 94 to 98. He's been able to use that 2-seam sinking fastball, the 4-seam fastball. But that pitch right there, the neutralizing pitch, that big curveball, he will no longer throw his changeup. He's going to use his curveball as his off-speed pitch. His slider's always going to be there for a swing and miss. If you think about it, this is a couple of years ago, the career high 15 wins. The year before that, he was even better when you think about 13 wins with a great ERA. But that curveball is going to be so important for him, not only tonight, but during the regular season as far as getting left-handers out in front and using that slider against righties. But the 2-seam and the cut 4-seam fastball should be very effective for Garrett Richards because that velo back at 98 miles an hour.
Well, if you know he's going to be on the pitch count throughout the regular season, it'll be a short night for Garrett Richards in his final tune-up before the regular season. Left-hander Rich Hill is on the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're just about ready for baseball here at the Big A. Sit back and relax. Going to bring you the lineups and the first pitch when we return. First two of this series here at home for the Halos, and as we mentioned throughout the open, that we will be at Dodger Stadium tomorrow night at 6:07 First pitch. Gooby, what do you got?
Now it's time for In the Driver's Seat, brought to you by Kia. Right on cue for you there, Victor. What the Angels have done against the Dodgers in the last 16 home spring training games. That's dating back to the last loss in 2003. 14-0-2, including 3 straight regular season W's against the Dodgers here at the Big A. So they played very well against the Dodgers preseason and in the last 3 home games during the regular season against the boys in blue.
Halo's taking the field, and it's good to see Garrett Richards back out on the bump. Obviously saw him throughout spring training, but here at the Big A, especially after leaving the field in Texas on May 1st of last year with the elbow injury, the UCL injury. But it's good to see him work his way back and be ready to go for this 2017 season. Let's take a look at Dave Roberts' lineup for the Dodgers tonight. It's very similar to that of last night. Forsythe tonight, however, is going to start at third base. Tolles is in left. Turner's DHing tonight with Gonzalez at first. Grandal behind the plate. Peterson in center. Utley, who DH'd last night, will play second base tonight. Yasiel Puig in right. And, of course, Kike Hernandez in for Corey Seager at shortstop. And he will be batting ninth. Taking on Garrett Richards. Last year, 6 total starts before having the elbow injury. Went 1-3 at that point, 2.34 ERA in those 6 starts. As you mentioned, 2 seasons ago, 15-game winner. 3 seasons ago, on his way to perhaps a Cy Young candidacy before the knee injury. So he's had some hiccups in his career. Obviously still has a lot of promise in that arm.
But the thing early in his career, Victor, it was always that conversation, does he work hard enough? The stuff is excellent. We know that as far as his pitching, but he's learned to be able to work even harder to make sure he stays as healthy as possible. And as far as the elbow, doing all kinds of exercises to make sure that's not even a conversation. And I think that's what the big thing with Garrett right now is. He doesn't even want to talk about that anymore. He wants to talk about what he can do as far as help the team win.
Check out the Halos defensively behind Garrett Richards. Maben, Trout, and Calhoun in the outfield from left to right. Escobar, Pennington on the left side. Espinoza and Marte tonight on the right side with Maldonado behind the dish.
And Cole Calhoun out in right field, Gold Glove winner in 2015. 29 outfield assists in the last 3 years, ties for the most by any right fielder in the game. Jay Bruce, the other. Great throwing arm, accurate throwing arm. But last year, what, 9 outfield assists. They weren't challenging like they were the last couple of years, but he's very active with that throwing arm. A great one, and will charge the baseball as well as anybody out in right field.
Last night, the Angels picking up the victory. They were being no hits. Perfect game, actually, for a little while before Pujols picked up a walk, and then they opened it up with 3 runs late and able to hang on to the 3-2 victory. Look at Forsythe ready to lead things off. 0 for 4 game last night as the starting second baseman. Dodgers acquisition in the offseason to trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. First with the night at 97 from Richards. Fastball in for a strike.
A little cut action too in that 4-seam fastball from Richards.
Evens up the count. And the interesting thing, last night you were talking to Garrett, who joined us during the ball game, talking about that pitch count the Angels have probably instituted this year. The pitchability factor behind it. He's never been a guy that has been as pitch efficient as you would like with the stuff that he possesses.
Perfect example right there. A good fastball. Hitter's late on it. He's able to make contact, but a lot of foul balls against Garrett Richards, especially with his fastball. Firm, a little bit late on it, foul ball. Not a lot of pitches like that you could put in play and get quick outs as much as you would like to.
Scott fouled and out of play.
Again, already 4 pitches thrown for Richards, and each time Forsythe has been late on the swing. This is the time you might be able to see Garrett drop that slider in there, be able to finish him off.
That one
that's a little
slipping
bit
out of the hand.
Yeah, the old backup slider. You see the target being set up by Maldonado, and slips out of the hand right above the head of Forsythe. As you're looking reading as a hitter to spin on the baseball for a break ball, then all of a sudden it backs up on you. Very difficult to get out of the way of it.
Upstairs at full count. Andrew Toll's on deck. Justin Turner to follow. We are just underway here at the Big A. Another cool night. Folks still filing into the ballpark on this Friday night. A lot of traffic out there on the freeway.
Oh, yeah. Just a little bit today.
3-2. It looked like he jammed him. Pennington easily makes the play, and Forsythe retired for the first out of the game.
That's a great pitch right there from Richards. That's the kind of pitch you see from Garrett, what you'd like to see earlier in the count. Run that little two-seam fastball, especially against a right-handed batter. Good movement, good velocity on it. Kept that front shoulder in very well. See that action on there, runs it in, gets it on almost just above the handle of the bat. A little ground ball to Pennington to get the first out.
What's crazy is you watch that replay in slow motion and you look at the normal pronation of the elbow and the hand, right, of a pitcher. That ball almost appears to have a slider or cut fastball type rotation, yet it goes in on a right-handed batter.
I always ask, again, how many two-seam fastballs did you throw? How many four-seam fastballs did you throw? And you can see right there, it's almost as if he has it on the four-seam, but that's a two-seam action on it. But
that's not supposed to happen.
No, that's the beauty of Garrett Richards. His fastball at times, and even talking to Carlos Perez or Martin Maldonado about it, they just kind of put the finger down there to one, and if it's a circular motion, that more than likely would be a two-seam fastball, but still, they're prepared if it's going to cut or sink. But you know it's going to be firm.
Tolles pulls it over to first. Jeffrey Marte's got it. Oh, bad throw. And Tolles will reach. Threw it behind Richards instead of leading him, and it should be an error on Jeffrey.
And a nice play on it. It was down, and then it kind of stumbled as he tried to get up. Had plenty of time to be able to lead Richards towards the base. That's what you want as a pitcher. You go in that angle, you're going towards the base. You want to go to that corner of the base, so you want to avoid the runner going down the line, but you want to be led by the throw of your first baseman. It was a high throw. You're going to have a tough time not only catching the ball, but finding the base at the same time.
Got it. I hate looking at plays like that involving Garrett Richards at first base.
You're always going to go back and think about that play in Boston at Fenway Park. And that's why Albert Pujols is so good as far as that. He leads the pitcher, especially Richards going to the bases, leads him to be able to catch it on a lower throw right around belt high and then find the base.
Turner DHing tonight. 1 for 3 game last night. Pretty good lead for Tolles over at first. This one's popped up on the first base side. Maldonado will give it a look, but it's into the seats.
In my Hyundai key for this game for the Eagles, especially for Garrett Richards, that mindset of blue collar man. And that means thinking in terms of fighting your way, working hard to get some quick outs. Very important. Talked about it last night in an interview during the game. And that's the mentality he's going to have this season to give himself a better chance of picking up W's. If you're going to go 100 pitches, if you're going to go 5 or 6 innings, it's tough to pick up wins. You want to be able to get into that 7th, sometimes 8th inning for that 100 pitch mark.
Turner takes low. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Good miss right there at 96 at the knees.
Tolles will run at 24 stolen bases combined through 3 stops in the minor leagues last year. '62 stolen bases 1 season. That was back in 2013, also at the minor league level. That's good, right?
Pretty good. Pretty solid. Reading pitchers well.
Check swing. It looked like he went around. He did not.
That's a tough pitch to lay off of. Nice job by Turner.
Sure looked like he did go around on that swing. Easy could have called that out.
Maybe tomorrow on a getaway day, you know, for umpires and players. Last spring training game. 2-2. Ground ball to third. Escobar. Espinosa.
Espinosa has some kind of arm to turn in that double play. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Manny Espinosa, that second base position. Garrett gets through it, 0-0.
Look at Mike Scioscia's starting lineup for game 2 of this Freeway Series. A very similar looking lineup, with the exception of Jeffrey Marte tonight getting the start. To place of C.J. Cron. Otherwise, it's Escobar, Calhoun, and Trout at the top third. Pujols, Marte, and Maben in the middle part of the order. Then Espinosa, Pennington, and Maldonado. Simmons, by the way, at shortstop, in case you're curious, did take ground balls and looked good today during batting practice. So we hope that everything is all right for the opener on Monday in Oakland. The Angels tonight taking on the 37-year-old left-hander native of Boston, Massachusetts, by the name of Rich Hill.
Yeah, Rich Hill not overpowering with his fastball. Had a great season combined with Oakland and Dodgers. 12-5, 2.12 ERA, 87-92 range. His slider, curveball, throws a ton of curveballs, and changeup.
So his combined record last year, 12-5. He went 9-3 with 14 starts for the Oakland Athletics last season. 2.25 ERA. Then got traded over to the Dodgers. Made 6 starts for the Dodgers. Was 3-2 with a 1.83 ERA. And hit the free agent market. Ended up re-signing with the Dodgers. 3-year, $48 million deal.
And one thing you'll see from Rich Hill, a lot of fastballs, upper part of the strike zone. About 75% of his fastballs are upper part of the strike zone. Exactly there. And then you would think that with the new strike zone we're seeing so far this year, that would be to his advantage. And he throws his curveball, which he'll throw a lot of. About 43% of his pitches last year is curveball. That's going to be at the lower part of the strike zone. He starts the curveball at that same plane as his fastball and then drops the curveball low part of the zone.
Escobar last night ended up going 1 for 3, had an RBI single. He started the rally for the Angels into 7th, because this one's tapped foul.
As far as that spin rate for Rich Hill, has very high spin rate both on his fastball and especially on his curveball.
Downstairs.
There's that curveball once again coming in at 74 miles an hour. Talk about Rich Hill and that curveball and percentage of curveballs thrown led the majors in that category last year. Mentioned about almost 43, 42.1% batting average of only 160 on his curveball.
Oh, that's a jam sandwich right there. Fastball in on the hands, and Escobar is the first down here. The first defensively for the Dodgers behind Hill. You've got Tolles, Peterson, Puig from left to right. Forsythe, Hernandez, Utley, and Gonzalez from third to first. And that's Monty Grandal behind the plate.
We saw Gonzalez make a very nice play last night. 4-time Gold Glove winner at first base. 2008, 9, 11, and 14. Still very good as far as the low throws to pick, and still a very accurate throwing arm at first base.
Calhoun 0 for 3 last night. He was in mid-season form as far as laying out fly balls last night. It's a breaking ball outside. Ahead of the count.
You can, we talk, and it's one of those things now you're hearing a lot about is that spin rate on the curl. But you can see how much that baseball, that curveball, had that spin. Starts higher in part of the strike zone, just off the outside corner.
Two and one.
You look at his percentages last season for Rich Hill, what he would throw on a 2-1 count. 74% of the time he would throw a breaking ball.
So Topper off the bare hand towards second base. Utley with a bare hand and almost gets Calhoun. Well, the question is, did that ball hit the hand of Rich Hill? Dodgers might take a look at it.
It's a pretty good play by Utley to come in on that play, especially after you have to redirect and go one way. Rich Hill using the bare hand. That's something when you're watching at home for pitchers, that's something you don't do. That's why you look back and see where your infielders exactly are at. Even though it's not hit hard, you don't want to put that bare hand out, because that, even with the rotation of the baseball, the seams can cause some damage on your pitching hand. So you just off the hand, and then Utley's got to redirect going for that baseball. Comes in with the bare hand himself. A nice play, underhand throw. That's a real close play. When if you're a hitter against Rich Hill, there's a lot of movement when he throws the baseball. He's almost running around on the mound as he's delivering the baseball. You have to look as a hitter, look at the batter's eye behind you and try to track the baseball, try to read the spin, and not look at the body and all the motion going on with Rich Hill if you're going to be successful against him.
And what a turnaround in his career over the last couple of seasons for Rich Hill, beginning in 2015. It's a back up the middle, not hit very sharply. Maybe even hit off the glove of Hill. Trout safe at first base. Hill lost the glove on that ball that came back up the middle.
A quick flip, a little bit of a tough play at the heel of the glove, flips it over. Hernandez didn't get a lot on the throw over the first base, but Trout running hard down the line as usual was able to prevent that double play from being turned and allowed Albert Pujols to come to the plate.
I wondered if there was a slight deflection off the glove of Hill. Well, he just slowed it up enough.
So that time he decided to use a glove, but wasn't able to keep it on his hand.
Albert will look at a strike. Pujols last night, first base runner for the Angels. A 5th inning walk. Angels didn't get their first hit till Escobar led off the 7th with that single.
The amazing turnaround with Rich Hill as far as his career. Remember the Angels when he faced 4 batters, didn't record an out.
2014. Pitched in the Yankees system that year as well. He pitches from that third base side of the rubber. If I recall, early in his career, he was a Cubs draft pick. Got to pitch a lot from the first base side of the rubber. He's been able to kind of neutralize a lot of hitters. I mean, he was not overpowering. It doesn't light up a radar gun, but all season last year, especially with the A's to begin the season, was just incredible. Trout's on the move. He had a pretty good jump. No chance.
Yeah, he ran up there as if there was a man on third base to be able to prevent a double steal there. He knew he had no chance of the play at second base with that great jump that Trout has. That's the 51st stolen base in spring training for the Angels. That's the kind of team you're going to see this year. Very aggressive, 5th stolen base for Trout.
A little style there at first base, the lean towards second base. Man in scoring position. Albert with a 1-2 count. 2 outs here in the first. No score.
One of the few times in a count where Rich Hill will throw a few more fastballs, a little more fastballs than curveballs thrown on a 1-2 count, especially a right-handed batter.
That's a called strike 3, and Albert certainly doesn't like that call. He thought that pitch was upstairs. The Angels leave a man in scoring position. We head to the second with no score. Rich Hill to get out of potential damage. I want to remind you to get your red on and become a season seat holder and enjoy exclusive benefits and the same seats all season long at the greatest value. Visit angels.com/season seats. Or, Gooby, you can pick up that rotary phone of yours in your bedroom and 888-7-9. You have to wait 6. And then you got to do the halo. You got to figure out which numbers corresponding to the letters.
I'm doing that right now.
You used to have to, back in your day,
oh, don't go
dial
there.
8 for long distance in a hotel room. With Adrian Gonzalez. That was a long time call, a home run call in minor league baseball. Some big league guys. I know players used to say it. He dialed 8.
Yes.
For long distance.
Good call on that one.
Gonzalez, Grandal, Peterson here in the second for the Dodgers. This one's hit out toward right, just off the end of the bat. Has a little carry to it, but Adrian fooled. Cole puts it away for the first down.
It's so important to utilize those secondary pitches, curveball and slider, as your off-speed pitch to get hitters out in front enough to get some easy routine outs for Richards.
Yasmani Grandal, the catcher. First pitch on the breaking ball.
See, that's a slider there from Richards, an 89-mile-an-hour slider, but that went straight down almost as if it would be a curveball.
Richards is one of those guys, if you were the pitcher, if they still did this, charting the game,
yes,
you're just making stuff up.
Yeah, just putting that might have been that.
You're just going with balls and strikes.
That was the beauty of setting up your defense when you used to sit there as a pitcher in the dugout at that angle, and you're writing down 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was a ground ball to that guy playing somewhere at second, third, and then next thing you know, you're having all the players situated the next day exactly what your chart looked like.
Grandal certainly knows how Albert Pujols feels after getting rung up on that breaking pitch. 2 outs.
Curveball here from Richards, so a pretty good sequence of pitches. You see that finger, when you see the finger being up, that index finger off the baseball, that's when you know it's a curveball from Richards. So he threw a slider, he threw a fastball, and then finished off Grandal with the curveball. In that high strike being called.
Peterson did not go around. Jerry Davis eyes over at third base. Good to see Jerry.
You're all ready for the regular season, aren't you?
One ball, one strike.
That's a real good pitch too from Richards. You have a hitter with great power, looking fastball, and you run that fastball in on the hands.
You're not ready for the regular season?
Oh, I've been ready.
Been ready?
Been ready.
Yeah, we're chomping up the bit. Just imagine these guys have been going after 8 weeks or whatever it is.
All day long today and yesterday, they just felt so good to be home in the weather conditions here. Cooler at night. Pretty warm for the most part in spring training in Tempe. Although early in spring they had a lot of rain and some pretty cool weather early on in spring, then all of a sudden it was pretty consistent upper 80s and 90s the rest of the time.
It's pretty cool that one Thursday I was there.
Yeah.
Last week.
Were you there for about 3 seconds?
I think it was a little bit more than that because the show's an hour show that we taped. That's going to be on tonight.
Yes.
And I'm trying to promote. Trying to help you out. But it's fine. You want to go with 3 seconds? It's fine.
I believe you flew in and flew out the same day, big guy, and at least spent the night.
1-2 is outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
But in my mind, I was there for longer than 3 seconds.
2 quick outs for Richards on a fly ball out to right and a strikeout of Yasmani Grandal. Just got a piece of it.
Another pretty good slider there from Richards.
Did you feel last year a little bit, guys, were more on Garrett than you had seen in previous years? Is that maybe more reliance on a fastball?
Yeah, and I think you saw a lot last year, at least for the part of time he was there. That front shoulder opening up, and he talked about a little bit even last night his mechanics, cleaning up his mechanics, hiding the baseball weather, so it's right on him late as far as a hitter.
Sneaks underneath the glove of Cliff Pennington. It's a 2-out single for Peterson. I mean, he does look, Garrett that is, a lot more under control. He's always had a violent delivery, but it seems as if, and that happens with time and experience and getting a chance to talk with guys throughout the career that are with you, obviously on an everyday basis. But early on in his career, he was going at 110 miles an hour. I mean, it's like everything in the kitchen sink coming at you. Now you look at a guy that it looks like he's got 6-7 years of big league time in and under control and can still, when he wants to, hump up.
And he used to throw across his body a lot more. and that puts a lot more stress on your elbow. When we talk about hiding the baseball, as we'll show it during the course of this game, where he keeps that front shoulder in as a hitter, you're trying to track the baseball out of that hitter's eye, batter's eye, I should say, in the background. But when you hide the baseball, then all of a sudden it's on you at 97, 98, you have late swings. Saw that with Forsythe, his first at bat in the first inning. But I've always felt for Garrett, the pitch he gets hit, and you would think it's odd that it would be, is the pitch, the fastball, the upper part of the strike zone. He is much more effective, like that pitch right there to Utley, lower part of the strike zone. Has late movement, whether it's cut or sink action going away from a lefty. But when it's upstairs a little bit higher, it straightens out, becomes a hittable pitch, even though it's still firm at 97, 98.
Down and in. 2-1 count.
So again, we talk about that pitch efficiency. 30 pitches now for Richards here with 2 outs here in the second inning. That's averaging rated 15 pitches per inning. Had a chance to get Peterson there. He ends up getting a base hit. It was a ground ball, and that's what you want to do as a pitcher anyhow, but it found a hole. Now you're throwing an extra 4, 5, 6 pitches to try to get through this inning. Very important for Charles Nagy when he looks at Richards. What can he tell him in between innings to think in terms of, all right, you get that pitch count up a little bit right now. How can you get a quick out or two next inning to give you a better chance of being later in the games? And I still think it's that 2-seam fastball, especially early on in the count, and keep it down.
Just got a piece of it. Full count with 2 outs. Peterson will be on the move from first. Ground ball to second. Espinosa waiting back on it. Utley retired, and we will head to the bottom of the second with no score. Game Freeway Series. Join us on Saturday, April the 8th as they take on the Seattle Mariners at 7:07 p.m. and enjoy post-game Saturday night fireworks show because it happens on
Saturday.
Hey, for more information on Saturday night fireworks presented by Wells Fargo, go to angels.com/promotions.
Is that on Saturday, right?
Wow.
Yep.
I think we should do the Saturday night fireworks spectacular on Fridays.
No, I'll stick to Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah, it flows a little bit better.
Saturday fireworks spectacular. Okay. Jeffrey Marte starting first baseman tonight for the Angels. Behind him the count of 0-2. Jeffrey last year 88 games in his rookie campaign with the Halos at .252. And a .310 on base percentage, 15 home runs, 44 runs batted in. It bounced around a little bit. First, third, left field. Really did a nice job and a lot of power in his bat. This one's fouled back. Thunder in the stick, if you will.
And made a good adjustment as the season progressed. Early on, a lot of fastballs. He was able to hit out, then the pitchers made adjustments. Started throwing more breaking balls. Had some troubles, and then all of a sudden made an adjustment, hit the ball the other way. Brought that fastball back on the inner half.
Popped up. Gonzalez into foul territory. One down.
And you can see from Rich Hill, a lot of fastballs upper part of the strike zone. You're going to get a lot of pop-ups. You don't engage it with that pitch because you don't have overpowering stuff. If that's a little bit lower in the strike zone, it's a relatively straight fastball. It's going to go a long way. But when you get that upper part of the strike zone, a lot of pop-ups, just misses. And you go back to the dugout as a hitter and thinking, I should have crushed that baseball. Instead, you pop it up.
Cameron Maben, the starting left fielder. RBI single last night. First round pick of the Tigers back in 2005. He has spent time with the Tigers, the Marlins, Padres, Braves, and the Tigers once again. Pretty nice season last year, even though it was limited because of injuries. Two balls, one strike.
That's when you know you have a good feel for your breaking ball. On a 2-0 count, you know you have to throw a strike, and you can throw your curveball for a strike.
He'll rarely waste time on the mound. Two-two. Chopper left side. Logan Forsythe almost throws it away, but a nice play by Adrian Gonzalez. Two down.
Talk about that 4-time Gold Glove winner. We're highlighting the defense. That's great footwork by Gonzalez at first base. Forsythe playing third base position, cuts it off, got a lot on the throw, but it's a wide throw, but Gonzalez able to stretch out and keep that foot on the base. Hit Maben by just the hair.
Best fielding first baseman in baseball?
One of the best, that's for sure.
Right.
Not quite as mobile as he once was.
Right. But I'm talking about around the base.
Around the base.
Around the base. There aren't a whole lot of first basemen that are extremely mobile. That's why they play first base.
So they're going to get a lot of calls now for first baseman.
But I mean, it's tough to come up with anybody.
Hosmer's probably in my opinion.
Hosmer's up there, yeah.
Great footwork plus great range himself. So probably those two right there would probably be the best.
Two balls and a strike on Danny Espinosa. Shift on for the Dodgers against Espinosa. 3 on the left side. That is pulled down the left field line, and that is a fair ball. Into the corner she goes. Espinosa will turn it head to second. Gets away from Tolles, and Danny keeps on running. Should go as a double and an error. The second mistake in as many nights for Andrew Tolles in left field.
Yeah, Tolles has done a nice job with the bat in the series and throughout spring training, but the defense on occasion has kind of gone away from him. Espinosa did a nice job of bringing his hands inside on that baseball to be able to hook that one and keep that one fair down the left field line. Tolles got around there, especially when that little corner. You got to make sure you get to that wall and keep it from getting around you, and it did unable to do so. And Espinosa, who runs very well, able to cruise in there to third base. Espinosa had 9 stolen bases last year. Stone run very well so far, even in camp here, 3 stolen bases. He's going to be asked to run a little bit more so.
Pennington takes high and tight. Cliff's played a lot of games this year because of the WBC. 18th of the spring. Good chunk of them at shortstop. Simmons out with the WBC.
Well, it's really tough as a hitter to sit on a curveball from a pitcher, but when you think about percentages of curveballs thrown, we showed that graphic earlier for Rich Hill, how many curveballs he'll throw. Especially as a right-handed batter, just try to wait for that curveball to come in the inner part of the plate.
And he gets one on the outside part of the plate, gets the call 1-2. Fouled on. .209 average for Cliff Pennington last year, his first season with the Angels. Veteran play a couple of different infield positions. Switch hitter. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Last season for Rich Hill, his 2-2 counts, 67% of his pitches were going to be curveballs on the 2-2 count. Does it once again. That time he left that one upstairs. Got away with that hanging curveball. Clayton Kershaw will have the opening day start against the Padres. Rich Hill and Kershaw have talked quite a bit about the curveball and the plane to throw the curveball, upper part of the strike zone to be able to break it down. Kershaw has one of the best, along with his slider. 12-4 last year, 1.69 ERA.
Full count.
Both Rich Hill and Clayton Kershaw had an opportunity to talk with Tony Koufax again in camp about his curveball and how they throw, the plane to throw the curveball at. Certainly invaluable knowledge to get from him.
Different approach too, as far as mechanics, the way they throw a curveball. Foul back, good rip by Cliff. Count remains full. And that Sandy almost appears that curveball started behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that big kind of kick to himself, and you never saw it. You know,
Yeah. You
all
talk
of a
about
sudden out of
great
nowhere.
deception.
Yeah.
He can almost say, hey, by the way, I'm going to throw a curveball. And the hitter go, please, don't throw a curveball.
That just missed, and it's a walk. Hill was headed toward the dugout, which is his first free pass.
See exactly where this location, this backdoor curveball. Well, you can see the rotation. When we talk about that spin rate, you can really see it on that replay of the curveball from Rich Hill. It looked like it went around the back part of the plate, not the front part of the plate. That's why it was called out of the strike zone. But framed well by Grandal.
Martin Maldonado, the catcher. 2 on, 2 outs. Danny Espinosa with a double, moved to third on the error by Tolles. Now the walk. Maldonado drops one toward third. And certainly did not surprise Logan Forsythe. And the Angels are done here in the second. To the third we go with no score in the Freeway Series. Series game number 2. Garrett Richards on the mound. He's worked 2 innings. And he has allowed 1 hit and has struck out 1 batter. As we welcome in Tyler Skaggs, Angels starting pitcher, who's down in the dugout, kind enough to join us. And Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. And I know we touched on it a little bit yesterday about your outing in Arizona. How'd everything go? What'd you think of your last spring training tune-up?
Felt good. You know, threw a lot of strikes, a lot of balls down in the zone. Got to 6 innings, 92 pitches, so it was good.
Yeah, Tyler, how important was that to be able to get to that 90-pitch plateau to make sure your shoulder and everything was going to be strong enough to start the season?
It's huge for me. You know, I had a little shoulder fatigue early on in spring training, but I worked through it, and never a doubt in my mind. I felt good. Felt good to get those 90 pitches in. So.
Now Yasiel Puig takes upstairs. Can you take us through, and Gooby touched on a little bit yesterday, about the new program instituted by the Angels training staff and the strength test after outing, how that whole thing works, and what you need to attain in order to kind of continue the green light moving forward in your starts?
I think it was just early on. You know, it's first few starts of spring training. Everybody kind of feels the breaking the cobwebs out, so they kind of just do a few manual tests. For me, just kind of complained about a little bit of fatigue, and they wanted to test me, and you know, I only took 2 days off of throwing, so it wasn't too bad. But not everybody does it, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, when you talk about that fatigue and how you just kind of put that aside right away, I watched you playing catch right after they talked about pushing you back a little bit, but free and easy. How important for you is to be able to be free and easy in your delivery and maintaining your mechanics? That's
everything for me. You know, I got long limbs, a lot of moving parts. So for me to be free and easy is for me to be healthy and to be throwing hard. When I get stiff and I get out of whack is when things start going wrong.
And your goal going into 2017 is what?
Just be healthy, make 32 starts, and you know, win as many ball games as I can. I feel like we've got a great team this year, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, aside from now, what it's been like to with all these new faces, because there are, especially on the pitching side, whether starters or relievers, a lot of new bodies in this Angels organization.
I love it. You know, Jesse Chavez is you know, my new catch play partner. He's won work with me a lot. He's a great guy, great camaraderie guy, and he's going to bring a lot to the table. And then in the bullpen, we have a lot of new faces, a lot of good guys. As you see, Blake Parker's been throwing the ball really well. And then you have Espinoza and Maben and Revere, all guys that are, you know, going to attribute a lot to this team. And then I can't leave out my man Maldonado. I've thrown him a few times, and wow, he really he's special behind the plate.
Yeah, that's the thing. How good is that to have a catcher like that that could do those things as far as framing pitches and know he can completely shut down a running game?
It's huge, and you'll see what he's about to do right here.
Well, you put some pressure on to make sure he made that play.
That's why he's your guy.
He's my guy. I have complete faith in him. But no, he's a guy that he cares about catching. You know, he wants to get the pitcher deep as possible he can into the game. So I want a guy like that behind the plate that's going to help you grind through, you know, a bad start, or going to help you thrive in a good one.
One out with one on, at top of the order coming up, and Logan Forsythe. And it can't be easy for a guy like Martin Maldonado to come into camp with so many new faces and have to learn everybody's nuances and release points, movement on pitches. And it seems like he has stepped into that role and kind of embraced it. Hadn't even been, there was no breaking in period. It seems like he just jumped right in.
I mean, it was great. So I mean, first few days of spring training, he asserted himself, came and talked to every single pitcher, starting pitcher and bullpen pitcher, and asked, you know, hey, what do you like me to do? I'm going to catch your bullpens, and you tell me what you like. And that's huge for a guy to come to you and ask what your strengths are and to work on that. So it's a testament to him.
A quick question about it. When you're watching your friend out there, Garrett Richards, going back, you know, you had the Tommy John surgery. You will go see what Richards went through as far as the stem cell PRP. Have you guys had conversations as far as what you tried to do as far as strengthening that area around that elbow?
I mean, we worked out together this offseason, so we had a lot of time to sit there and talk about a lot of things. We played catch together too, so I just told him, hey, as long as you feel good, just keep doing what you're doing. He's doing a lot of forearm exercises, a lot of shoulder exercises, but I told him just don't think about it. Go out there and be athletic and have fun with it. Just pitch.
The expectations on this team, a lot of people coming into camp even during the winter time. No, the Angels, where they're going to be, we don't know exactly what. It's going to come down to the pitching staff. What have you seen as far as the pitching staff right now that makes you believe this team is a serious contender?
Well, first off, all of us kind of have got to know each other this last year, especially for me, Garrett, and Shoemaker. We've played together for quite a while now, so I mean, we're going to miss Jared, but we kind of have a young nucleus. And then we have Ricky, who's a veteran, and Jesse, who's a veteran, to kind of help guide us along. So he's been great for us. I'm really excited, though. I think all five of us are going to do really well this year.
Puig with a good lead at first base, a 1-2 count on Forsythe. Tyler Skaggs joining us from the dugout. And Forsythe goes down swinging. All right, let's talk a little bit about the rotation. Have the Angels told you what the plans are for you? Are you that TBA guy on Thursday?
Come
on, break some news, man.
you're gonna have to talk to the coaching staff about that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So let's just say I'm on pace and I feel good. I came out of it well, and we'll see.
That's a good answer already.
Yeah. Talk to the coaching staff. What do you think we're asking you?
You're our inside source.
Hopefully you guys find out in the next few days.
But you feel great after that last time out, 92 pitches you mentioned. That's the most important thing. You feel strong.
No, I felt really good. Velocity was there the whole time, and I came out of it well, played catch today, and felt strong. So bullpen coming up very soon. So.
Now, Tyler, what are you looking for now as far as, you know, you'll have your bullpen session before maybe that start on Thursday, if indeed that's the case. What are you going to look for as far as your bullpen sessions to make sure you have that good feel for the mound?
Well, first off, fastball command. Everything plays off the fastball command. If you can command both sides of the plate, the curveball will come along. And I threw a lot of changeups the last minor league game. I threw about 13 or 14, so it's coming along. I'm really looking forward to it.
Tyler, we appreciate it as always, and thank you for your time, and good luck on your Thursday start in Oakland in the day game.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, you got it. Tyler Skaggs down from the dugout joining us.
That was close to what you asked him. That was close.
He could neither confirm nor deny.
No.
Andrew Tolles with a 0-2 count with 2 outs, 2 strikeouts for Richards, 1 walk.
He's about as important as a player on this team right now, in my opinion. Garrett Richards, obviously, with his stuff, but Tyler Skaggs has ace-type stuff himself when healthy.
Puig's on the move, doesn't matter. Tolles strikes out swinging, and that's the 3rd out. So a 4-pitch walk to Yasiel Puig, but Garrett finishes the inning with a couple of strikeouts. We'll head to the bottom of the 3rd, scoreless. Kick off the regular season up in Oakland with a 4-game series, and the home opener a week from tonight here at the Big A against the Seattle Mariners, in for 3. An off day on the Monday the 10th, and Texas in for 3. And then the Halos out for the 2nd road trip, Kansas City and Houston.
2 4-game sets on the road in the month of April for the Angels. 4 in Oakland, 4 in Houston.
Escobar, Calhoun, and Trout for the Angels here in the 3rd against Rich Hill. Now a little bouncer back to the mound in the 1st. Breaking ball. This one's out to right. One away. Hill. You know, the fun part about watching him, you've seen Garrett Richards' numbers so far tonight. But with Rich Hill, you can't really sit on any one thing. It almost looks like when you are thinking fastball and what would be a fastball type count, spins a breaking ball. He doesn't put it in the hitting zone. He kind of moves it around all 4 quadrants of the strike zone.
And I think when you look at his fastball and his curveball combination, the 2 pitches he throws the most, when you combine them together, a little over 80% of his pitches, those 2. The fastball is upper part of the strike zone. The curveball starts at the upper part of the strike zone before the bottom drops out. So your eyes are always tracking the upper part of the zone. But it's difficult to do that when you're tracking a curveball. Then all of a sudden the fastball, even though it's not firm necessarily as far as velocity, there's enough on it to get you out in front or just pop it up in the infield. And the Dodgers invested a lot of money in him, giving him a long-term deal. He's had to battle a number of blister issues on his throwing hand.
Tommy John surgery back in 2012. What you just described, that fastball up, not overpowering, maybe at 90 on the high end, curveball upstairs, and all of a sudden drops to that eye level thing. Really, but you're talking about a guy when he first came up to the big leagues, Barry Zito.
Yes,
That's how that was his bread and butter.
Yeah. stayed
the
up there.
Fastball and curveball were on that same plane.
Exactly, and remember over the years being in the dugout when you had pitchers who would throw the upper part of the strike zone, they come back to the dugout and say, I don't know how I didn't hit that baseball. But it's because your hands are lower as a hitter, so you have to bring your hands up and try to track the baseball to the upper part of the strike zone. By the time you do so, you're going to be late or just underneath the pitch.
Or drop down action. Full count.
And that's a pitch where Clayton Kershaw has tried that drop down breaking ball as if he needed another pitch to throw anyhow. Kershaw, I guess he doesn't want to ever give up a hit, let alone a run. Remember in spring training for a while, he didn't even give up a hit for his first 3 or 4 starts, Kershaw. Imagine if you're a left-handed batter trying to stay inside on a drop down break a ball from him.
Ground ball to second. 2 down.
Again, that pitch, upper part of the strike zone again.
So Trout will bound with the bases cleared, 2 outs. Might go for one. He reached out a fielder's choice and stole the base and was stranded in scoring position in the first.
You look at percentages, first pitch thrown last year for Hill, 61% first pitch fastballs. This is the time maybe the Trout's looking fastball first pitch. Instead he's able to drop the curveball in once again. But he was geared up, Trout looking for a fastball that first pitch to try to do some damage. Trout fans.
Just 100 walks, 100 runs, 100 RBIs last year.
Highest on base percentage in baseball. Led the American League in runs and walks.
Lifts this one out to right. Puig has to come in on it. He's there. The Angels are down in order. 3 complete here at the Big A, and we are still scoreless. Garrett Richards back out. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit allowed. That was a single for Jock Peterson in the second inning. He gets 3, 4, 5 here in the 4th inning. Turner, Gonzalez, and Grandal.
46 pitches thrown for Richards, average about 15 pitches per inning. Last year, granted, was a small sample size, about 17 pitches per inning. So a little bit more efficient at this point for Richards.
Like what I saw last inning after throwing 4 pitches nowhere near the zone to start the inning against Yasiel Puig to kind of settle on a pop-up and 2 strikeouts. This Bouncing off of Maldonado, back to the screen, 1-1.
So as a catcher, that slider to be able to try to block, that's not an easy thing to do. And Maldonado, even though nobody on base, tried to get in front of that. That spin as it hits the dirt on a breaking ball, very difficult to do so.
Turner gets into one out toward left field. Maben will watch this one go. It's a home run for Turner. And the Dodgers have themselves a 1-0 lead here in the fourth.
That's one of those backup sliders. When you look at the batting average really for Turner against breaking balls, especially early counts, 341 last season versus a slider early in the count. And he got a slider here, kind of spinning back towards that barrel of the bat of Turner, and he drives it out quickly to left field. To that graphic, how many home runs he had last season for the Dodgers. That got out quickly. Again, it was a breaking ball. He's very good on breaking balls, whether it's sliders or curveballs.
Gonzalez hits one out to Maben and left. One down. Adrian now 0 for 2 with a couple of fly ball outs.
It's the 4th home run of the spring for Turner. A 16 RBI. 4 long guys in that dugout say, hey, why don't you save some of those RBIs and home runs for the regular season? See that motion he was showing? Got that breaking ball out in front. Ideally from that slider from Richards, you want to go down and away. It's spun back in the inner part of the plate, and that's how he's able to get those hands out in the barrel of the bat on the baseball.
Jam, Grandal, Espinosa has to commit on it. 2 down.
Couple quick outs, early count outs for Richards, important. And this pitch right here is the pitch I firmly believe, especially against a left-hander, he's going to be able to get some quick outs. Starts middle plate, enough on that one. See him trying to get that 4-seamer away from him. Stay away from the barrel, more towards the label of the bat, and an easy ground ball out for Richards. Again, think in terms of contact early, certain counts, utilize that fastball, whether it's a 4-seamer or a 2-seamer, and get quick outs.
Peterson looks at a strike on the breaking ball. Mentioned he had a base hit back in the second.
That's a great target set by Maldonado. And I can see you were looking right at him there too, Victor. He's setting that target low, has his body and the glove, the target being set low, and Richards threw that ball exactly where Maldonado wanted that pitch. That's why you can hear so many good things being said from pitchers about Maldonado being in that position to set that target right there.
Looks like Martin wanted that pitch just right underneath the hands.
And that fastball, the plane was there, but it just kind of ran over the middle part of the plate.
One, two, breaking ball.
And with the curveball, you can see the frustration on that pitch from Richards. Too quick. Already landing before his arms trying to play catch up to be able to make sure he stayed on top with his curveball. It was the right pitch. Just didn't follow through as far as his delivery.
Peterson, did he go? Did not.
Another pretty close check swing that could have gone either way.
Utley on deck. Payoff. Peterson hits one off the end of the bat towards short. Pennington's got it. Third out is recorded by the Dodgers. Strike for a run. Justin Turner, a leadoff home run to start this fourth inning. Angels down to 1-0. Lexus. The Freeway Series is driven by your Southern California Lexus dealers. Albert Pujols to lead things off for the Angels here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Halos down by the score of 1-0. It'll be Albert, Marte, and then Cameron Maven face left-hander Rich Hill. Hill is a strikeout, 1 walk, 2 hits allowed. Albert cues one down the first base line. It's a fair ball. Just beyond the reach of Adrian Gonzalez, and Albert is on board with the leadoff single. No chalk required on that cue shot.
It looks like a line drive now. And it's that upper part of the strike zone on the fastball. Exit velocity on the fastball against Rich Hill, not exactly there. You see Albert was looking up. Yeah, you see a lot of pop. By the way, there's a lot of hits and home runs between the two of them right there with that conversation. But high pitches like that, a lot of times you will pop up the baseball, especially on a fastball from Rich Hill. Some gold gloves, too, between the two of them at first base, between Pujols and Gonzalez.
Jeffrey Marte 0 for 1, popped down leading off the 2nd.
And this is a time when Marte is going to be sitting fastball, but Rich Hill will throw a breaking ball often in a 1-0 count.
Very short lead for Albert at first. Marte hits one out to left. Toles racing back, has a beat on it, and then the last second has to reach up for it. Albert hustles back to first. I don't know if he maybe lost sight of that ball because it looked like he was on it, you know, at the last second. Had to turn on the jets.
Didn't quite get all of that baseball for Marte, but still got it back to that warning track, and Toles able to run it down as he's trying to get a feel for the wall, but still just away from the warning track, and reaches up. It looked like I think he fooled on that one initially. And off the bat, it didn't look like it was going to go as far as it did.
Maven grounded out in the 2nd. His batting average climbing over the last couple of years. Last year over 300 with the Tigers. He was part of that 8-player trade between the Florida Marlins and the Detroit Tigers. It also included Andrew Miller at the time a starter and Miguel Cabrera.
When you think about Andrew Miller back in the day when he was a starter for the Tigers, was extremely wild.
Chopper, right side. That's going to be a tough play. No chance to get Maven. Infield base hit, and the Angels have 2 on.
But even go back to Andrew Miller, then that strikeout to walk ratio last year off the charts. So you had that little flare from Albert, and this one off the plate. And once Gonzalez has to field that baseball, no chance that Rich Hill's going to be able to get to the base and be able to get Maven at first.
So it's Espinoza up with a couple of men on. 3rd time tonight the Angels have had a man at scoring position, just have not been able to cash it in. Danny had a double into the left field corner. 2 outs in the 2nd, and stranded at 3rd base.
And the one thing that Dave Hansen and Paul Sorrento have talked about all spring training long to Danny Espinoza is what's that timing mechanism? When are you going to be able to load on the backside to be able to make sure you're in position to get that baseball out in front? As Paul Sorrento between Mike Trout and Cole Calhoun. It's all about what you're trying to it's pitch recognition, but also getting that timing together. 24 home runs last year for Espinosa. A lot of them just that straight power that he has. Now it's about that timing mechanism, just trying to make sure he's in position to read that baseball out of the hand of the pitcher.
Dodgers starting to get some action in their bullpen. Avila pitched last night. Ready once again tonight. Albert at second base and Maben at first.
Boy, 3 times in this inning alone, we mentioned it early on, 1-0 counts. Rich Hill will throw a break on. He's done it every single time this inning.
Down it in. Almost got his back foot. Two-one count.
Another breaking ball. Just missed hitting the foot of Espinosa. Blocked by Grandal. Kept it close enough where Albert Pujols wasn't able to advance. Rated that back foot.
High fastball evens the count up at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dodgers with a run on the Turner home run at the top of this inning. Pennington's on deck. Things have really slowed down here with Rich Hill.
Generally, he's going to be going, as Rick Honeycutt calling down to the bullpen to see if Avilan's ready to go. Generally, it's going to be between his curveball and his fastball. He might try to run that fastball upstairs once again.
Breaking pitch, and that misses.
He said, was that up? He goes, no, it wasn't. Dave Roberts with that look. See exactly where that starts at the letters. Looks like where he caught the baseball, certainly off the inside corner, but when you go through that front part of the plate, that had to be real close to being a strike. Last season alone, 85% of the time he threw a curveball 3-2.
This one is in there for a strike, and Espinosa goes down looking for the second out of the inning. All right, 65 pitches for Rich Hill. Dave Roberts has come out to talk things over. Avilan's ready to go. You take a look at the breaking pitch and gets Espinosa, locks him up on the 3-2 count. So Hill is done for the night. Avila with Pennington coming to the plate. The switch hitter will come on and try to get that third out. Dodgers lead at 1-0. Fourth, Halos with 2 men on and 2 outs. Want to remind you to register your little angel for the 2017 Junior Angels Kids Club for only $18. Members receive 4 ticket vouchers, a t-shirt, a coupon for free large pizza, and other exclusive merchandise. For more information on the Junior Angels Kids Club presented by Papa John's, just go to angels.com/juniorangels. Luis Avilan on in relief. Rich Hill. Avilan went 1 inning last night. All zeros for him. Cliff, the switch hitter, batting from the right side against lefty. First pitch fouled off. Batting to drew a walk in the second, so no official at bat for him tonight as of yet. Pardon me, 27 games for Avilan last season. Pujols at second, Maben at first. Pennington lifts one out to center. Peterson is there. Avilan comes in, he gets the job done. 4 complete here at the big game. Dodgers still up 1-0.
A key for this game today for Richards. Blue collar man did a nice job as far as pitch count. Only gave up 2 hits, 1 run in 4 innings. 57 pitches for Garrett Richards. So job well done. 3 punch outs, 1 walk. Solid performance, workmanlike performance today for Richards. And then saw a couple times tonight quick 1-pitch outs. Take the sting off the bat with that good movement in his fastball. I think you can learn from that. That way he could be in deeper in the games than that 100-pitch mark.
Bud Norris takes over on the mound for Garrett Richards to start this 5th inning. Angels down by the score of 1-0 last year, I should say, combined between the Braves and the Dodgers. 6-10 with a 5.10 ERA, and the majority of those starts, 19 total starts for those 2 ball clubs. And a guy that's not too far removed from a 15-win season. That was with the Orioles back in 2014, but trying to make this ball club, and he's pitched well enough to make this ball club in the bullpen and give Mike Scioscia some options as far as whether he's a swing guy or a long guy. He could be a short inning guy if you need him out of the pen.
Number of conversations in spring training with Bud Norris, and originally in camp, he's battling for that 5th spot in the rotation, but said to Mike Scioscia and Charles Nagy right away, I want to be part of this team. If it means being down in the bullpen, whatever this team needs, I'm going to be able to do. And he's been really solid out of the bullpen. Fastball is going to be 91, 95 range. Has a slider, a cut fastball, good one, and a changeup.
Got a new battery mate, Carlos Perez, settling in behind the plate. Norris's first one ended 95 miles per hour. Utley, Puig, and Hernandez for the Dodgers here in the 5th. Utley so far tonight 0 for 1 with a ground ball to second. The Angels are hoping in Bud Norris that they have someone that could be what Joe Blanton was to the Dodgers last year, a former starter. And as we all know as Angel fans, not a very good starter at the latter stages of his career, especially when he was here in Southern California before becoming a bullpen piece with the Pirates 2 seasons ago. And of course last year a terrific year as a member of that pen for the Dodgers.
Well, as a reliever for Bud Norris, he doesn't have to save a whole lot in the tank as far as velocity on his fastball. We saw 95 was the pitch before that breaking ball was a very good changeup that he has. And Angel fans remember him quite well over the years. He's put up some great numbers in his career versus the Angels, but I think he's really adjusted. As you can see him working from that stretch position exclusively to the bullpen role now.
Utley one around on the breaking pitch, and there's the first out to start the 5th.
Good cut action on that pitch from Bud Norris. So we saw a fastball, changeup, a curveball, and a cut fastball there to get a swing and miss. Late action on that pitch. That's at 90 miles an hour. Utley could not hold up on the swing.
Sixth round pick of the Houston Astros in 2006 out of San Luis Obispo. Chopper up the middle. Puig jumping on that first pitch. Espinosa to the backhand. And a wild throw. Puig will reach on the error.
That's something you don't see a whole lot from as far as Espinosa, especially that second base position. Just a couple years ago playing for the Nationals, this one error in 377 total chances. He had a very strong throwing arm. Looked like he lost the handle of the baseball, more of 3 fingers as he threw over there towards Marte at first base.
1 on 1 out. Kike Hernandez at the plate.
Might see some action here with Puig at first base now.
Bounce. Kike Hernandez everywhere. Good move by Norris. Norris likes pitching in this ballpark.
Yes.
Career .46 ERA.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
At Angel Stadium. That just means he would have done it against the Angels.
He just likes pitching in this ballpark.
Yeah.
The mound. You see a very quick move he has. First base. Good footwork.
Breaking ball downstairs. 2 balls and no strikes. Norris got to the big leagues for the first time in '09 with Houston. 6-game winner at that point. Prior to that 15-win season in 14. His previous high as far as victories was 2010, 9. Also with the Astros.
If he keeps that tag applied to him.
Jerry Davis, it looked like it came off the base, but Jerry Davis saying that Marte with the tag pushed Puig off the base.
Yeah, I think it doesn't. I mean, he's not trying to push him off. He's just applying a tag. He's off the base. He's out.
He didn't push him off
No.
the base.
What would Ken Herbeck be saying now?
Yeah.
Ron Gant, that World Series between Twins and the Braves. Two
2-0 count on Hernandez. 1 out, 1 on. 1-0 Dodgers here in the 5th. Puig started to go, then stopped. That pitch misses. Puig on the move, and the pitch is downstairs. A 4-pitch walk. Dodgers with a couple of men on here with 1 out.
Well, not often you're going to be going as a base runner on a 3-0 count. More than likely taking that pitch. It's a fastball. You had a good opportunity as a pitcher, especially with the throwing arms of both Carlos Perez and Martin Maldonado. You have a chance to throw out Puig. You didn't really get a good jump on that on a 3-0 count.
There's Logan Forsythe, 0 for 2 with a ground down and a strikeout. Eighth appearance for Norris this spring. 3 of those were starts. 1-1 with a 2.92 ERA. 17 strikeouts and 12 in the 3rd innings. Puig at second, and it's Hernandez at first. All of a sudden, Bud just can't find the strike zone. 6 out of the zone now.
12 pitches thrown, 8 of them out of the strike zone for Bud Norris, who has been very effective in the zone out of the bullpen in camp here. Forsythe's going to be sitting fastball here.
Two all to the strike. Dodgers with a couple of hits. Halos with 4. The
majority of these pitches out of the strike zone is his cut fastball. A lot of times that's a more difficult pitch to control consistently in the strike zone, the cut fastball, because you have that late action with your wrist. It's almost like you're playing the catch with a football, where you have that little tight, quick turn the wrist with a cut action, and you're holding a little bit off center on the baseball.
Good rip at a fastball, 3-1.
It's the old 3-1 challenge with a fastball right down the heart of the plate. Whereas ones as a pitcher, you're just thankful that it's fouled straight back.
Once upon a time, Logan Forsythe, the 1st round pick of the San Diego Padres in 2008. A Razorback. Three-2. Fouled off.
That's why I think Bud's got to trust that fastball. It's pretty good velo on the fastball, 94, 95.
Easy, too. Doesn't even look like he's overthrown or trying to muscle up on
that
it.
Late life upstairs, too. And he's throwing quite a few cut fastballs. We saw even in Arizona. That's one thing you do as a reliever. You condense the number of different pitches you throw, because you're only out there for a couple of innings.
Chopper toward 3rd. Escobar has no play. Other than the forced out of 3rd for the 2nd out of the inning. Looked like he almost kind of changed his mind. They were going to Espinosa and try to turn two that way, but he takes the lead runner instead in Puig.
Especially because Espinosa was close to the base because he was trying to hold Puig close to the bag. And Forsythe didn't get out of the batter's box real well because that pitch had some running action.
So 2 outs now. Hernandez at second, Forsythe at first, and here's Andrew Tolles. 0 for 2. Great shot on error in the first, struck out in the third.
Not a bad time for Cliff Pennington maybe to sneak in behind Hernandez for a pickoff.
Good pitch. Catches the outside part of the plate. Outfield straight around for the Angels. Now you've opened up both sides of the plate.
That's a good cut fastball. Now this is the time as a pitcher you want to have the hitter swinging at your pitch. You don't want to make any mistake at all on a big part of the plate. You've worked hard to get ahead of the count, now expand the zone. See if they get him to chase trust that Carlos Perez will keep that baseball in front of him just in case you bounce a pitch.
Chopper to third. Escobar will force out Kike Hernandez. But Norris gets out of it. We'll head to the bottom of the fifth. 9-1-2 coming up for the Angels, down 1-0. Insurance. We're on a mission to save you money. Log on to mercuryinsurance.com to get a fast free quote and see how much you can save. The Angels now 1-0. Justin Turner with a home run in the fourth. The only scoring so far in this game. Second reliever used by Dave Roberts. Now on as relief here in the fifth inning. It's Kenley Jansen working back-to-back games to get ready for the regular season kickoff. He's back in there. 71 games last year, 3-2 record with a 1.83 ERA, 47 saves on the year for the big man. Look at Carlos Perez, Yunel Escobar, and Cole Calhoun here in the fifth.
Again with Jansen, another prime example about someone so successful in the upper part of the strike zone with that fastball, cut fastball. lot of baseball squared up against Jansen.
Perez fouls it back. Crazy to think that this guy right there on your screen used to be a catcher.
That's a pretty good target to throw
That's
to.
a big dude, man.
When you think about Troy Percival, former catcher himself, outstanding closer.
Carlos fouls this one back. And a cannon too from behind the plate. There's 1-2.
It'd be pretty difficult to throw a baseball by him when he was a catcher. As big as that target is.
I know. You just don't see catchers that size. Wieters is a big dude. Signing a deal with the Washington Nationals. He sat on the market for a little while as Carlos lifts one out to right center. John Peterson calls off Yasiel Puig, and Yasiel Puig said, "I got this." Peterson disagrees, but okay. Center fielder's the quarterback out there, right?
And he's calling for it. And always a good decision to allow, if Yasiel Puig is in that vicinity, stop and let him make the play. That was a priceless look.
One out, nobody on. Yunel Escobar.
That's like a wide receiver getting that slant pattern over the middle part of the field, and the middle linebacker ready there for to make a tackle. You're just better. Hey, okay, I didn't make that play.
Now Tardy on the fastball. Behind him the count at 0-2. This one down the line, slicing away from Puig, and fortunately he slows up. There was no give at all. There's concrete walls down the line here. There's padding, but some would say that just for show.
Yeah, you don't want to run into that short wall down there. You're not going to win that one.
And now it goes down on the breaking pitch, 2 down.
Yeah, Jansen doesn't throw a lot of sliders, but he's getting more and more comfortable with that pitch, and that's a nasty slider right here. Very good in as far as his mechanics, his head still, and nasty slider. Snaps that one off. Look at the career strikeouts per 9 innings. Chapman at the top, 15.2. Frank Kimbrel, and then Kenley Jansen at 13.9. Rob Dibble.
One of the nasty boys.
Yes. That was a pretty good bullpen. We talk a lot about bullpens, what we've seen in the last couple seasons, especially in the postseason. But the Reds in that 1990 team, World Championship team. Norm Charlton, Randy Meyer, Rob Dibble. Game was over after the 6th inning.
They got to bring back posters. Nasty boys.
Yes.
The Bash Brothers. Had some great posters back in the day.
Definitely.
80s, 90s. You would have been on a great poster. I mean, you would have, with your that salad you wore, that mullet.
Oh, yeah.
tight uni on a Trans Am.
Oh, yes. That's always good to bring that one up.
How are you not selected for the Whitesnake video?
Oh, yes.
Let's see. Mark Gubiza with the mullet and the tight uniform. Tawny Katane. Yeah. Let's go with Tawny.
Yeah. Hey, Jansen has a good fastball, doesn't he? As we try to move on, see if Cole can square one of those up.
You're actually thinking about it. Why didn't they pick me?
I'm still chapped.
Cole goes down swinging. Jansen with a 1-2-3 fifth. We head to the sixth. Dodgers up 1-0.
Fourth inning, a slider from Garrett Richards that kind of spun back to the inner part of the plate. He knew he made a mistake on that one, and Turner, very good on breaking balls, whether curves or sliders, hits that one out. The only score of the game here is all the pitching so far in this game has been very effective for both the Angels and the Dodgers.
JC Ramirez on the mound for the Angels, taking over for Bud Norris, who pitched a scoreless fifth inning. JC last year picked up from the Cincinnati Reds, really threw the ball exceptionally well for the Angels, and thrown the ball well this spring as well.
And he's throwing the ball well, especially at times this spring as far as a starter.
First pitch is downstairs, and it misses for ball one against Justin Turner. He'll be followed by Adrian Gonzalez and Yasmani Grandal, as we are pleased to welcome in Andrew Bailey, Angels reliever, who's down in the dugout. Andrew, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, how you doing? Just enjoying the game down here.
I bet. It's a better vantage point there than it is the bullpen, huh?
Yeah, it's actually not a bad spot to watch the game from, though, because you're a little high up. But here you're right on top of the action, so it's fun.
Closer to the food and the coffee, the beverages.
Absolutely, need the coffee.
No doubt.
So Andrew, we were just talking in between breaks how excited you were to be able to have an opportunity to put that Angel uniform back again after how well you threw in the month of September last year.
Yeah, for sure. You know, obviously right after the season ended, I kind of wanted to get something done, and you know, Billy, came right after it, and I wanted to be here. I mean, I think, for them signing me late after I was released by the Phillies and giving me a chance to be a part of the team and get some late saves for the team was something that I didn't forget, and I wanted to come back here and help these guys win. I love what the organization's doing, very forward-thinking, and making a lot of adjustments, and it's great.
Was there anything that stood out to you for the transition from Philadelphia Philadelphia to Southern California that things clicked for you, and then all of a sudden you started to get on a roll?
Yeah, I mean, I think I started trusting my stuff. I mean, you know, having that surgery a few years ago, I kind of was still trying to find my way, and you know, I think I put too much stress on myself, and you know, coming back here and being in an environment that I was kind of used to just from playing out in the AL West for so long. Just started trusting my stuff again and letting it eat, and you know, get attacking the hitters. So looking forward to doing that again this year.
And Andrew, we're seeing so much on the emphasis on bullpens. And how do you feel right now as far as this bullpen being put together, including yourself, how effective this bullpen could be?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're going to have a strong group of guys out there, and I think if we keep the mentality of get the ball to the next guy, we're going to win some ball games. Obviously, you got to keep the score where it is, but there's a lot of talent out there, and matching up with guys, and a lot of unselfishness, and that's the key is just having a lot of unselfish guys, no egos, and really just doing whatever we can do to help the team, and you know, get wins in that column.
Yeah, Cam Bedrosian talked about it a little bit last night, how relying he's going to be on you because you've done this before, you've been a closer, you've been that role, and it's a very intense role. How's it going to be like now for a veteran to be able to help out some of the younger guys down in that bullpen?
Yeah, no, definitely. I had some great help when I was a rookie my first couple years in, and guys kind of showing me the way. So I'm definitely looking forward to helping Cam, whatever I can do, and any of the guys down there. And he's going to have a very, very bright future. And you know, this game's there's ups and downs and mental grinds and good days and bad days. But at the end of the day, you just have to let it play out and understand that. Us going out there on a daily basis, you know, you're going to win some and lose some, but you got to have the you know, that heart to come back the next day and do the same exact thing, and that's what makes great bullpen guys, is not being scared and that fear of failure, and you can't have it. You just got to go and attack guys. So I'm looking forward to helping him as much as I can, and from what we've seen so far this year, he's ready to rock.
Andrew, I know over the years Mike Scioscia's been a guy that whether he believed it or not, he was kind of a guys had a role in the pen, and he used to use guys, you know, pretty regularly in certain situations. It seems like, and maybe it's because of the different arms and different personalities that Billy Epler has brought in this spring, that there's multiple options, whether it's you or anybody else, that there is no defined, at least what it seems like anyway, no defined roles other than perhaps of Cam Bedrosian maybe closing early on, who knows. But and I think that's a tribute to, like, Billy looking outside the box and not just saying, hey, this guy fits one role and that's how we're going to fill out our bullpen. Instead, it's guys that could do multiple things. That's got to help a coaching staff and a manager in particular as far as making decisions.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you look at a guy like JC. I mean, here's a power arm that, you know, you got to see what you have as a starter, and for him to be able to either come in 7th, 8th inning and shut it down, or go, you know, 1-2 plus is a huge, you know, favor for us, and helping the bullpen out there. And you know, you got a lot of different variety down there, and you know, Alvarez and you know, Lefty and Cam, myself, and however the bullpen, you know, pans out. But I think, you know, especially what you saw in the playoffs last year with, you know, the power guys and just kind of putting the fire out. I think there's a lot to be said about that, and with us down there being so unselfish, I think as long as, you know, we understand kind of what part of the game we're going to pitch in, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you know, you don't want your closer being ready for the 4th or 5th, but you know, if he knows he's a late inning guy, I mean, you're going to be ready. And you know, I think with the way the lineups are nowadays and mixing and matching, you know, there's going to be a lot of success with, you know, the analytics side of things and the you know, the different ways that we can approach the game in that regard.
Is it odd for you that you're still a young guy, that the game has changed or evolved as much as it has when it comes to lineup formations and the way other opposing managers attack those lineups?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely changed for us from when I've been in the game. I mean, you know, during our meetings and stuff before each series, we go over different things that, you know, I didn't even know that was in baseball, you know, coming up as a, you know, 24, 25-year-old. And, you know, now the way scouting reports are done, I mean, it's really unbelievable. You have every single number you could possibly want, and it's to our advantage. But, you know, then again, the hitters have, have the same numbers on you. And at the end of the day, man, it's you got to trust your stuff, attack the zone, and just because so-and-so can't hit a slider or something doesn't mean that's what you're going to throw. You got to stick to your strengths and understand that your strengths are better than his, and you have to put all your faith in that. So, but as a bullpen, with like you talked about with Soch having defined roles and stuff, I think that all plays out during the course of this season, and there's guys that, I mean, I bet you there's going to be more than one guy with saves on our team and holds and all that stuff, and it's just it's about being a cohesive unit down there and working together, and picking up guys if guys a day off or what have you, or a guy's struggling, someone else has to pick up that load and continue to carry the torch.
Andrew, we appreciate it, man. Great stuff as always. Love talking with you. We appreciate the time, and good luck this year.
By the way, who's your favorite football team, by the way?
Of course, man, the Eagles. Come on.
How'd they do this year?
Not too great, but we're looking forward to next year. That's all right. It's they got a big off season, so so far the talent they've added has been pretty strong.
Excellent point there, Andrew. Excellent point.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. Andrew Bailey joining us from down in the dugout with 2 outs here in the 6th inning.
I figured I had to ask him that question.
Oh,
just in
shocker.
case. Yeah.
Jersey guy. Gonzalez over at first. Peterson 1 for 2 with a single and a ground out. Jock will go down swinging, and J.C. Ramirez is done here in the 6th.
Nasty curveball, something he has thrown quite a bit in spring training here. Nasty one to get a swing and miss. Had a great pitch to be able to finish off that last inning. It's now time to take a look at their top tier play, brought to you by Arco. That curveball starts at the belt, ends up towards the dirt to get a swing and miss against Jock Peterson. See that spin rate on this curveball. Perfect location to pitch that J.C. Ramirez has thrown a lot in spring to get a better feel for. And that's a perfect curveball to get a swing and miss from J.C.
New pitcher on for the Dodgers as we start the bottom of the 6th inning. It is Chris Hatcher, 32-year-old right-hander, native of North Carolina. 37 games last year with the Dodgers, 5-4 with a 5.53 ERA. He's in to face Trout, Pujols, and Marte. The Angels down 1-0. A couple of changes defensively for the Dodgers. As Trout looks at a strike. Franklin Gutierrez out in left field. Scott Van Slyke in center. Cody Bellinger, the new first baseman. John 0 for 2. Fielder's choice, a stolen base and a fly ball to right.
Pretty good swing and a fastball at 94 after a breaking ball first pitch. Such a short, compact swing that Trout has.
Upstairs.
That's one thing. Remember a couple of years ago, a lot of pitchers were trying that high fastball, and Trout had some swing and misses. Said he was going to adjust to that during the offseason. Came back the very next season, cut down on the strikeouts, cut down on chasing that high fastball.
Chases the breaking ball here. Trout is the first out of the 6th.
That's a good action on this all-speed pitch. Changeup. Trout pulled off, especially after the pitch before a high fastball. He used that splitter as his changeup.
Albert looks at his strike. 1 for 2. Cued a base hit. Shallow right in the 4th. Time called with beach ball out of the warning track. Garrett Richards tonight in his final spring tune-up. 4 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, one of which was the home run to Turner. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. Albert lifts one out toward left center field. Van Slyke drifting to his right. Puts it away for the 2nd out.
Well, if you look at patterns so far, the Hatcher starts off breaking ball and then goes high fastball. Did it both to Pujols and Trout. But going back to Garrett Richards, what I think he takes out of his performance today is those couple quick outs he got in that 4th inning on fastballs. And knowing that with that movement he has on his fastball, he can get some easy outs with that pitch. He doesn't necessarily think in terms of strikeouts. He did have 3. But I think in terms of going with that fastball, trusting movement, lower part of the zone, and get some quick outs with that's going to be so important for him.
One count on Marte, starting first baseman tonight. 0 for 2. Pop up to first and fly ball to left. Halos hit camp, but Drosian getting ready to pitch the 7th.
That's a product of looking for an off-speed pitch, slider, curveball away. See tracking away. It's a fastball in. It's a little bit off the inside part of the plate.
And he gets a breaking ball. Low throw. Bellinger's got it. Halos down in order. We hit to the 7th. Dodgers still leading at 1-0. Lead off the 4th inning, the only scoring so far in this game as we begin the 7th. Want to remind you this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Los Angeles Angels and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Angels Baseball LP. Cam Bedrosian on the bump. He'll face the bottom third of the order. Of course, this season cut short last year. Ended up going 45 games, a 2-0 mark, a 1.12 ERA before having to have surgery for that blood clot. He's throwing the ball just as good as he was prior to the injury.
Yeah, a lot of confidence right now. He remembers exactly what made him successful last year. It certainly was with a 1.12 ERA, but in spring training, same thing. Able to establish the break ball for strikes. Fastball velo has been very good. Location of his fastball has been solid. And then went ahead of the count, able to finish off hitters with that swing and miss slider.
Ben Revere is the new left fielder taking over for Cameron Maven. No other changes for the Angels.
Angel fans are really going to love Ben Revere. He's had a great spring, but great personality.
Utley 0 for 2. One ball, one strike. Bedrosian first round pick, 29th overall selection, 2010 by the Angels out of high school at Georgia. A lot of promise in that arm. And of course, Steve Bedrosian. Utley bounces this one to Marte.
Well, you can see that little, you always talk about that little giddy up on the fastball, upper part of the strike zone against Utley, who is a very good fastball hitter. Bedrosian tied him up with that fastball upstairs. A weak ground ball to Marte. This is a spot you'll see a lot now with Cam with his comfort zone with his breakable. This is not a bad time to throw that first pitch breakable, especially with Puig always aggressive on the first pitch.
Nice, easy, and under control.
Knowing he can throw for a strike. Comfort zone with that breakable, very important. And because of the first pitch being a strike, he almost got Puig to chase that one out of the strike zone. Even though that pitch was never really going to be a strike, he still almost went after it because he established the fact that he could throw his breakable for a strike. Now remember, in the past with Cam, he was always out of the strike zone with his breakable. He didn't get a lot of swings that way.
Ball and a strike on Yasiel Puig. He's 0 for 1. He's walked and reached on an error.
That was a not quite committed swing on that fastball upstairs by Yasiel Puig against Cam Bedrosian. And that's that late life on a fastball upstairs from Cam.
One, two. Breaking pitch, got him. 2 down.
And that's that wipeout side. It's a great sequence of pitches by Cam against Puig. Started off with a breakable, first call strike, breakable out of the zone, high fastball, then finish him off here with that wipeout slider. Great sequence. Good job by Carlos Perez calling that sequence of pitches against Puig, and Cam finishing off with that slider.
Kike Hernandez fouling that one back. He's 0 for 2. Pardon me, 0 for 1. He's walked and popped out. Still sporting the blonde hair of Team Puerto Rico, World Baseball Classic. Team Rubio.
Tell you what, it was a great tournament this year.
Guy out the shallow left. Revere coming in. Pennington going out. It's Ben Revere calling off Cliff Pennington. Stretch time here at the Big A. Revere to lead things off for the Angels. Down 1-0. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market game, regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to App Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Go to MLB.TV for details. Ben Revere leading things off. The veteran outfielder takes a breaking ball for a strike. A .431 average this spring for Ben Revere. 3 doubles, triple, a home run, 9 RBIs. Fastball upstairs. It's accounted 1-1.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it in spring training. We see that little hitch in the swing for Ben Revere. But still so quick. He brings the hands down, it brings it right back up into the hitting zone and is able to make good contact, hits the ball on the line.
28 years of age. With Atlanta, Georgia, takes downstairs. Wanted an appeal, but he didn't go. 2-1. Last year with the Washington Nationals, struggled after getting injured. 217 through 103 games.
Led the National League in hits in 2014.
184 of them.
306 batting average, 49 stolen bases.
2 balls, 2 strikes. First round pick of the Twins. 2007.
For a couple of years now, you always heard his name as far as potential trade candidate for the Yankees. Finally able to pick him up. Keep hearing his name at trade deadline the last couple of seasons. Very happy, he said, to be able to finally put on that Angel uniform.
Moves this one out to center field. Van Slyke moving back on it. 1 down. Dave Roberts making the move. Revere is retired. We got ourselves a pitching change here. Hatcher goes an inning in the third. And does not allow a base runner. Pitching change with the Dodgers up 1-0. The seventh. Halo's trying to figure out the Dodgers pitching staff so far tonight. They struggled last night until late. Seventh inning, scoring 3 runs to pick up the victory. Not to do it again tonight. It's Grant Dayton taking over on the mound here. Chris Hatcher, 25 games last season. 0-1 mark and a 2.05 ERA for the left-hander.
Impressive 39 strikeouts and 26 in the third innings pitched.
Picked up in a July trade with the Florida Marlins, Miami Marlins, I should say. Exchange for Chris Reed. 11th round pick by the Fish, 2010 out of Auburn. War Eagle. Danny Espinosa, 1 for 2, the double and a strikeout.
The one thing, if you're the Angels, to keep a mental note of this when you play the Dodgers in regular season games, a lot of first pitch breaking balls from the pitchers for the Dodgers, whether it's Rich Hill starting the game, the bullpen arms. Outside of Kenley Jansen, who throws a lot of fastballs, a lot of breaking balls first pitch, and a lot of high fastballs throughout.
Pennington on deck. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. And giddy up on that fastball. One more spring training contest tomorrow night. Off day, travel day on Sunday up to the Bay Area. Kick off the regular season on Monday.
3 night games and a day game on getaway day on Thursday before coming home to the home opener on Friday against Seattle. Talk about the importance of those April games for the Angels to build that confidence.
Espinosa cuts through the fastball, 2 down. There's Paddington. Halos announcing 35,000 plus tonight, game 2 of this Freeway Series. Back on the air tomorrow night, 6:07 first pitch at Dodger Stadium. We will be back on Fox Sports West. One 1. Dodgers with a run on 2 hits, 1 error, 5 left on. Halos no runs, 4 hits, 2 errors. Stranded 5 as well. A couple of opportunities with 2 outs early in this game.
Jesse Chavez on the mound tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium for the Angels. When it's set up, we'll have the home opener on Friday.
Playing the West. Oakland, Seattle, Texas. This is foul pop. It's caught by Mejia, the new third baseman. We will go to the 8th, and the Dodgers still leading at 1-0.
Final preseason game here at the Big A. I'm Alex Curry. Make sure you stick around after the game for our Angels Live post-game show. Jose Mota will join me out here on set. We'll hear from Mike Scioscia and hopefully get some answers about the Angels bullpen, maybe that 4th starting spot. We'll take a look at Garrett Richards' final tune-up, and we'll look ahead at Jesse Chavez's start tomorrow. And Gooby, we talked about it in the pregame show. Jesse Chavez and Ricky Nolasco actually grew up playing baseball together in high school. They told us how fun it is and comforting to be able to have each other to confide in and ask questions to here. And it's kind of fun. One of them has the opening day starter and the other one's going to have the home opener.
Yeah, exactly, Alex. And we talked about it a little bit on the pregame show, how they both talk to each other as far as what they're doing well and what they're even struggling with during the course of a game. And they could do that even while they're sitting in the dugout, which is important because they have that kind of relationship and they've known each other for so long, playing travel ball way back as kids.
Kirby Yates pitching for the 2nd consecutive night here at the Big A. See his numbers last year with the New York Yankees. Yates last night, 1 inning, 1 hit, allowed an unearned run. He'll face Mejia, Franklin Gutierrez, and Justin Turner.
You saw that strikeout total last year for Yates, 50 and a little over 41 innings pitched. He does have that capability of the punch out. It just needs to be more consistent as far as keeping the ball in the yard.
That's a fair ball just beyond the reach of Jeffrey Marte. Mejia with good speed heading to second. He is going to slam on the brakes. Lead-off double for the speedy infielder.
Cut fastball, he stayed on it very well. Mejia hit it right down the line just past Marte. Watching that speed of Mejia, he was flying around. He was thinking triple. He's trying to pick up third base coach. The decision, especially the leadoff batter, to stop at second base in scoring position already. Maybe that first out at third base, unless you know for sure you're going to be safe.
Franklin Gutierrez at the plate. Took over in left field in the seventh.
Gutierrez originally a Dodger when he was drafted. Always had a ton of talent, but just trying to stay healthy. His number of games he has missed. A very good center fielder.
At 280 against left-handed pitching last year. 145 against right-handed pitching. 12 of his 14 home runs against lefties. And here with the leadoff double, stands at second.
Fastball mislocation. Carlos Perez setting up in the inside corner. He dropped his elbow to try to create that running action inside. Instead, it stayed out over the middle part of the plate and got fouled straight back.
Yates now 30 years of age, native Hawaii. 26th round pick of the Red Sox back in '05.
Good spot there. Much better job as far as hitting his location with his pitch.
Slider misses, full count. Willie Calhoun will bat for Justin Turner. He's on deck. Breaking pitch down the line, and that's just foul.
We talked about the number of strikeouts Yates had last season. Could use one now with a man on second here with no outs.
Gutierrez lines one out toward right center field. Trout will pull up. This one is off the wall. Trout plays the carom perfectly. Mejia is being waved around. The throw to second is not in time, and it's an RBI double, giving the Dodgers a 2-0 lead.
Pretty good carry in the baseball here tonight. Hit well by Gutierrez going the other way. A 3-2 pitch. Yates goes with the fastball. It drifts to the middle part of the plate. And that's a perfect swing from Gutierrez as he drives that one off the wall to drive home Mejia to second base. Again, when you look at this at bat, Yates had an opportunity early on, I think, instead of trying to throw a couple fastballs in to see if he gets Gutierrez to chase a breaking ball, especially when you mention those numbers he's had against left-handed pitching as compared to right-handed pitching.
Here's Calhoun. He takes down at it. Two balls, no strikes. Matt Williams, the new shortstop for Cliff Pennington here in the 8th. Two one, 3-1. Calhoun got into the game last night as a pinch hitter, hit fly ball to center. A 2-0 Dodger lead here in the 8th inning. Back-to-back doubles to start this inning. Calhoun with a big rip, full count.
Many prospects in the Dodger organization has a pretty good healthy hack of that 3-1 fastball.
Popped him up. Carlos Perez. One down.
Good changeup from Yates. Especially after you see that swing the pitch before on a fastball, changed up on him, an 87-mile-an-hour changeup, gets him out in front, pop up to the catcher, Carlos Perez.
Scott Van Slyke comes out for his first plate appearance, took over defensively. Back in the bottom of the 6th, center field. Missed inside. Two balls, no strikes. $18 pitches thrown so far by Kirby Yates. 10 strikes, 8 balls.
One thing you notice once again from Yates, that dropping of the elbow. Sometimes when you do that, that fastball, especially when you're trying to throw the outer part of the play, will drift back over the middle. Very important to make sure he gets his elbow up in a better throwing position to be more consistent hitting his spots.
This one down the left field line, and that just goes foul. Did not barrel it up, but you don't need to down the line. Van Slyke certainly strong enough to muscle that ball out. Full count.
Again, you see that elbow dropping and the fastball drifted back just in and up on him. Forcing to pull that one just foul, but strong enough to almost get it out of the ballpark if it did stay fair. But that late little drifting action on the fastball, all set up because of the elbow dropping for Kirby Yates.
3-2, and he walks up.
That's not a bad changeup there. Now he's established twice now. He's throwing a 3-2 changeup.
Two on and one out. Yasmani Grandal at the plate. Swing at the first pitch. Grandal is 0 for 3. Drew Gagnon getting ready. Pitched in the Brewers system last year. 0-1. Another off speed pitch. No balls, 2 strikes. Turner home run in the 4th inning gave the Dodgers a 1-0 lead. Back-to-back doubles here to start the 8th for the Dodgers, making it 2-0 as they look for more. Both teams now with 4 hits. Franklin Gutierrez, the RBI double. And Slyke at first via the walk.
And it has a count 0-2, a little bit too much to the plate, lower part of the strike zone against a guy that's very effective on a low fastball. And Grandal got away with that one.
Keeps the count at 0-2. Can't imagine Mike Scioscia lets him go much further after pitching last night. Hoping for a double play ball. Top and foul on the off speed.
That pitch has been effective for him. His changeup. So good movement on the pitch. 87-88 with his changeup.
This thing's pulled into right field. Cole's there. He'll put it away. 2 outs.
Hit it well, but just a little bit out in front. Cole able to run that one down.
Here's Cody Bellinger for his first plate appearance. Took over at first base for Adrian Gonzalez. Had a plate appearance last night and ended up striking out. 26 home runs last year. 30 home run season just a couple of seasons ago. Rancho Cucamonga.
Probably their biggest prospect, especially position player wise, in the system.
Son of former big leaguer Clay Bellinger.
And with Adrian Gonzalez still under contract for at least another year after the season, they've been thinking about playing a little bit in the outfield. He was playing some outfield in spring training. Dave Roberts already knows he has a number of outfielders to begin with. And he put in Bellinger in that mix.
Two on and two outs. We are in the top of the 8th inning. 6th man at the bat against Kirby Yates. 1-2.
We saw last night and that swing right there from Bellinger. He does not get cheated. Swinging the bat, he has tremendous power.
This one's up the middle. It's a base hit to bring in Gutierrez. And Slyke on his way to third. It's an RBI double by Bellinger. Make it 3-0 Dodgers.
See on that swing why he's such a big prospect. On the changeup, as Mike Scioscia is going to be going down to the bullpen. This is a changeup running down. And went with it with the shift on, hit it right by that shortstop position, but he stayed back on it well. Credit him for being able to do so.
Well, 2 runs in, the Angels make a pitching change. Dodgers leading at 3-0. To Martinsville. Last year, Kyle Busch had a dominating performance. Now a field of front bumpers and hungry drivers will be looking to knock off the defending track winner. Coverage begins at 9:30 a.m. Pacific as NASCAR takes center stage on FS1. Field of front bumpers and hungry drivers.
That's a fantastic read by you, Victor.
Yeah. Drew Gagnon on the bump for the Angels. 3-0 Dodgers with 2 outs here in the 8th. 26-year-old is a third-round pick by the Milwaukee Brewers out of Long Beach State, 2011. Last year threw A couple of stops in the minor leagues combined to go 3-1 with a 5 ERA in 36 games. 63 strikeouts, 68 in the third innings. Going to face the veteran Chase Utley with runners second and third. Off-speed pitch. Just misses inside. Utley so far tonight 0 for 3. Starting second baseman.
Start him off with back-to-back changeups. Gagnon against Utley.
One and two. Breaking ball misses down and in. Evens up the count. Long top of the 8th inning. Utley, the 7th man to bat. Halos, when they come up at the bottom of the 8th inning, with Perez, Escobar, and Calhoun due up. Breaking pitch hit to short. Williams has it. A little bit of a high throw, but Marte keeps the foot on the bag, and we will head to the bottom of the 8th. Dodgers add to their lead. It's up 3-0 now. The Dodgers, one of their newest acquisitions, Sergio Romo, on the mound. He's going to face 9-1-2. 40 games last year with the San Francisco Giants. 1-0 and a 2.64 ERA for the native of Brawley, California. Now 34 years of age.
And just like we talked about Rich Hill, a lot of curveballs. Romo, a lot of sliders. 63.5% of his pitches last year sliders. Fastball not overpowering. It's going to be around 84 to 87 range, but a lot of sliders and occasional changeup.
Carlos Perez leading things off for the Angels. Carlos 0 for 1. A fly ball to right field in the 5th. Slider 1-1. 515 big league games for Sergio Romo. Every one of them out of the bullpen. 32 and 26 in his career with a 2.58 ERA. Sliders popped up. Mejia, the third baseman, calling for it. 1 out.
Certainly a big part of all those successful World Championship clubs with San Francisco out of the bullpen.
38 save season back in 2013, the only season in which he was an all-star. Not too many guys. Well, nowadays it doesn't really matter, but back in the day, rarely saw a San Francisco Giant go to the Dodgers.
No.
Or a Dodger go to the San Francisco Giants. Janelle Escobar steps to the plate. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Slider missing down and away.
When he starts that slider right on the outside part of the plate, also you think it's a strike, and then it's off the outside corner consistently.
Just missed. 3-1 count. Calhoun on deck. Trout after that if we get to that point. Dodgers with the run of the 4th, 2 in the 8th. Make it 3-0. Dodger pitching retired 12 straight. That's a strike on the corner. Full count. Payoff now from Romo. There's a walk. That's the first base runner since Cameron Maven reached in the 4th.
Yeah, quite a few sliders thrown.
Sherman Johnson takes over as a pinch runner at third. Pinch runner at first will also take over at third. Cole takes downstairs. 0 for 3 tonight.
One thing about Romo, he never seems to give in. You think this for sure is going to be a fastball count. Looks like he's set up for a fastball.
This one hit towards second base. 4, 6, 3. Inning-ending double play. We will head to the 9th. Dodgers leading at 3-0. Pinstripe Pride with last year's hottest rookie Gary Sanchez as they take on Evan Longoria, the Tampa Bay Rays. Don't miss the action Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific on FS1.
Well, the Yankees this spring training 24-8 coming into today.
Is that good?
That's pretty solid.
Blake Parker back out on the bump here after pitching last night, so he's going back-to-back games. And he has had a terrific spring. See the 21 strikeouts in 11 1/3 innings.
Including his last 14 outs have been strikeouts.
Yasiel Puig to lead things off. First pitch, a breaking ball. Puig, Hernandez, then Mejia. 8-9-1 for the Dodgers. Angels made some changes in the outfield. Shane Robertson at center. Ramon Flores at right. The infield, Sherman Johnson stays in the game at third base. Ray Navarro is the new second baseman. Fastball from Parker. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Yasiel. 0 for 2 tonight with a walk.
Set up now with back-to-back fastballs. Parker threw a breaking ball to be able to get another strikeout.
Pitched last night, as I mentioned, 3 strikeouts. Took care of Gonzalez, Grandal, and Peterson in the 4th. Two. Puig fouls it off. To a place no one was anticipating a foul ball, to be honest with you.
No.
It's deep into the upper deck.
Parker with a good split finger fastball, but that one drifted into the plate. Puig pulled a foul.
Puig goes down swinging for the first out.
Another strikeout for Parker. Mentioned his fastball's 91, 95, 96 range. Curveball, a good one, and a split finger fastball. There's a splitter. Great spot location. Get another swing and miss, another strikeout. Way out in front.
A roller foul. Hernandez behind at 0-2.
Good sequence going on already here for Parker. Fastball followed by a curveball. Been consistent getting ahead of the count throughout the entire camp.
Oh, 2. Bouncing now. Ball and 2 strikes. Andrew Istler is warming up for the Dodgers. He'll face the 3-4-5 hitter for the Angels, but although Trout's not in the game any longer. Ramon Flores to lead things off for the Angels in the 9th. 3-0 Dodger lead. Down goes Kike Hernandez. Back-to-back strikeouts for Blake Parker.
That split finger fastball is nasty. Where this baseball starts. Middle part of the plate, down and in for another swing and miss. Great location. 2 punch outs this inning, 3 last night.
Mejia led off the second, or the 8th inning, I should say, with a double. Scored a run.
See Parker with that grip right there from the get-go. A lot of times you'll see a guy that throws a split finger fastball will start with that grip. If you're going to throw a fastball, you bring the fingers close together. There's another split.
That is a called strike 3 of Blake Parker for second straight night.
He doesn't let anybody play the field when he's on the mound. 6 straight strikeouts for Parker. Very impressive. The Dodgers lead 3-0 here in the ninth. Bottom of the ninth inning. The Angels trying to find their way, get some runs across here to be able to at least tie it or take the lead here and win the game here in the ninth inning. Dodgers pitching has been outstanding. This allowed 4 hits. Shutting out the Angels so far here into the ninth inning as they lead 3-0. Another pitching change for the Dodgers.
Andrew Istler taking over on the mound. The pride of Duke University, Gooby, 23rd round pick from Duke, yes. 2015.
It's like Marcus Stroman. Yeah. Speaking of the World Baseball Classic, what a performance he put on in that championship game.
Istler last year, 18 games in the minor leagues, no record. .99 earned run average. 29 strikeouts and 27 in the 3rd inning. Ramon Flores to lead things off for the Angels. Eric Young Jr. is in the on-deck circle. He'll bat in the Albert Pujols spot. And then Jeffrey Marte. Tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium, the Angels chance to see their 5th starter. Jesse Chavez on the mound. Chavez slated to get the opening day nod here at home, the home opening next Friday. Flores pulling it over to first. Bellinger's got it. 1 down. So here's Eric Young Jr. Bat goes flying. The barrel does. Ballinger takes it himself. 2 down.
And the catcher set up away, but this fastball's that part of the plate right on the trademark and shatters the bat right in half.
So 2 outs, nobody on for Jeffrey Marte. He's 0 for 3. There's the 1-1. Pulled down the line and past a diving Mejia. Jeffrey Marte is on his way to second base with a 2-out double.
Real nice job by Marte bringing his hands inside to be able to turn on that pitch on the inner half of the plate and hit it right down the line. Brings his hands in well, is able to get the barrel of the bat and right down the line for a double.
Ben Revere will step up for his second plate appearance of the night. Two balls, no strikes. Marte able to take a big lead. Nobody holding him on with 2 outs, and Revere flips one out to left field, and that's going to fall in for a base hit. Marte will come in to score. Ben Revere with an RBI single, and the Angels get on the board. They trail it 3-1.
And another base hit for Revere here in spring training. Talk about a little hitch. He still looks to hit the ball the other way. He's able to get a base hit and an RBI with that swing. Tries to slide in, no way you're going to be able to make that play, although he's made a bunch of them throughout his career, Gutierrez, but unable to run that one down. Another good swing looking to go the other way for Ben Revere.
Bellinger playing behind Revere at first with May Navarro at the plate. Revere takes off, uncontested. He stands at second now. Two balls and a strike. Matt Williams is the man on deck. Two. Morrow lifts one out to left. Gutierrez is there. And the Dodgers even up the three-way series tonight with a victory by the final of 3-1.
And the big story of this game, too, is Garrett Richards threw the ball very well, went 4 innings, 57 pitches, gave up the solo shot to Justin Turner. The Dodgers pitched extremely well, had shutout going all the way into that 9th inning. They win this one. Game 2, even up the series so far, 3-1 tonight.
Back at it again tomorrow night to wrap up this freeway series, the rubber game, if you will. 6:07 start. We'll be back on at Fox Sports West. Dodgers pick up the victory tonight by the final of 3-1. Stick around. Angels Live is coming up next.